gamers. Today we're going to be talking about a video that I recorded in 2023, and I wanted to record another one for 2025 because we're in January, so I feel like a video like this could be pretty useful. There will be new civilizations this year, and I will make another video just for the new civs when they do come out, kind of telling you where they're at, what we're doing with them, and so on and so forth. So this video is going to be what civilizations to play in 2025. I'm going to go through all the civs and just explain their play styles, whether it's aggressive, more passive, more macro, castle rushing, or whatever else. So if you're new to AoE 4 or you have played only one civ and you want to play another civ, this is going to be a good video for you to, maybe find another civ that you like, find your favorite civ, or just try something new. So let's get into it. Number one, Byzantine. Byzantine, I would say, is not necessarily a boom civ. You rarely, if ever, go to town center builds with Byzantine. Byzantine is more of a aggressive civilization, or doing castle rush while staying passive with your mercenaries. So because you have mercenaries, you can kind of produce free units from the oil. So you're not really rushing castle to fight over relics. You're most of the time going to be making a lot of units in feudal and either choosing to commit to pushing, and Byzantine has very strong feudal, or you're going to make some units together with mercenaries and then slowly age up to castle, where you can go for cataphracts, which are their unique knights, or you can continue making the infantry units. But in general, Byzantine is a very infantry heavy civ with a very strong focus on mercenaries and having javelin throwers and longbows. Very strong focus on ranged units specifically and how well you can micro them. I would probably say it's one of the more micro heavy civs in the game. So if that's something that you like, or that's something that sounds good to you, there you go. Now I'm not going to discuss the strength of the civ, because this video, people might be watching it in 6 months and I don't know what the balance is going to be then. So I'm just going to explain the play styles. Just want to re-emphasize that. Japanese. Japanese is a civilization that generally, since it came out, focuses on castle rushing. It is not a civ that you want to stay in feudal with necessarily. As of right now, we'll see in the future. But it usually focuses on castle rushing because they have a great castle rush landmarks. The H2 landmark that gives you free farms, and then H3 with your Ishiros that you can put in buildings and then increase your production speed, and so on and so forth. Their mounted samurai are really good units, and for that reason they're usually played with a lot of cavalry, at least early on. So you want to focus on a lot of cavalry, do a lot of harassment while you're kind of securing the relics, into slowly transitioning to like either ranged units or full infantry based army. They have really good infantry as well, and bannermen just increase their damage even more. So you kind of want to open a lot of cavalry, take map control, and then transition to mass melee units and kind of catch your opponent off guard with that. Japanese is also really good on water. Byzantine, for example, not good on water at all, but Japanese is one of the best civ on water and hybrid maps because their fishing ships are cheaper, because of the shinobi landmark, and that's pretty much it. And also they gain they gain stone by mining gold, so they can also arrow slit their docks. So very good on water, good for castle rushing, and I would say overall pretty aggressive civ. Whether you're playing it on land or water, you're rarely going to be playing Japanese as like, I'm a 2-town center and I'm sitting in my base. You're always going to be the one that's doing something. But at the same time, you might need to be a bit defensive as you're doing the castle rushing, because the opponents might be all in you. So if you're into that, there you go. Next one is Abbasid. Now Abbasid is a very interesting civ that has went through a lot of changes and a lot of playstyle changes over the years. Abbasid has 4 wings to age up, so it doesn't have 2 landmarks per age up. You can kind of pick one of the 4 going to feudal. So this opens up for a lot of possibilities. So even though you can go like early trade with Abbasid sometimes, or go super aggressive, the general playstyle of Abbasid is going to be multiple town centers. So out of these 3 civs we just covered, Abbasid is the first one that is more macro oriented. So with Abbasid, most of it, like 98% of the time, you will be going for second town center, sometimes even third, sometimes even fourth, depending what the opponent is doing. It is a pretty good civ on water and hybrid maps as well, because Abbasid and Ayyubid docks are cheaper. They cost 75 wood. So Abbasid is played on water, and they also have water upgrade that increases your ship health by I think 10%. So that's also very nice. And together with Golden Age that they have, where at 10 buildings produced near your House of Wisdom, you get 15% gathering rate on all resources, is very, very good for that kind of more economic and macro style. Because of that bonus, you want to get as many villagers and you want to get as macro as possible, because it scales really well with 2 town center going into the later stages in the game. So in general, Abbasid is going to be a defensive civ. If you're coming from other games, you know, a lot of people have played StarCraft 2. StarCraft 2 comparison would probably be Zerg with Abbasid. Next one is Ayyubid. Obviously a variant civ of Abbasid. Now Ayyubid has same or similar bonus in Golden Age 1, where they get 10% increase gather rates on all their resources. Same thing on water. They're even better on water because they have different age-up mechanics than Abbasid. So they're great on water, they're great on hybrid maps, and it's one of the most versatile civs in the game. If not the most versatile civ in the game. The reason for that is they can do it all. They can go 2 town centers, they can go castle rush, they can fight in feudal, they can play on water, and they can play on hybrid maps. Genuinely, I think Ayyubid can be played anywhere. And the fact that have camels is really good because it debuffs the enemy cavalry. So if you're struggling against cavalry civs, Ayyubid or Abbasid would be a great one for you. In general, as of right now, like I said, I've seen so many different builds. Very, very versatile civilization, if not the most versatile civilization, because they have 8 different age-ups. So you can do a lot of things. If you're like a player that used to all in a lot and now you want to try a different civ, you can still all in with Ayyubid. If you are castle rushing with HRE and you want to play Ayyubid, Ayyubid can do castle rushing really well. So they're very, very good with pretty much any style that exists in the game. The most common one, I would say, is that castle rush where you try to get relics and you go camel lancers and you kind of secure the map and kind of take the lead in terms of dictating the game pace. So there it is. Chinese, the next civilization. Now this civilization used to be very macro oriented. So if you watch my video from 2023, I probably said that this civilization is very macro oriented, very passive, but times have changed. You can still play China 2 town center. I feel like there's a lot of different playstyles with China. You can basically play it 2 town center, which is macro focused. You can play it 1 TC fast castle into fast knights, or you can do something like pro scouting into feudal and then just stay in feudal and do like a Zuginu all in or something, because they have tools for all of that. As of right now, China is not necessarily a civilization that you have like a strict build order and you stick with it. China is more a civ like you have a plan, but then you have to, and you can constantly adjust your imperial officials where you need to send, do you need more wood, do you need more gold, do you need more food? So you kind of need to be on the fly quite a bit. I feel like with Chinese, they are a hard civ to play, but again, if you want to play a civ that has multiple different play styles so you never get bored, China is a very, very good one for that. So there it is. Jushi Legacy. Now this is a variant of China. China is a bit better at defending because of the Barbican landmark that they have, and China is a bit more safe, but the Jushi Legacy has a lot better castle rushing compared to China. They have more income in feudal age because of the Meditation Gardens landmark, and also they have completely different imperial where, you know, they have some unique units and better cavalry than Chinese. So if you compare China and Jushi Legacy, a lot of it comes down to the army and the upgrades they have for those armies. So China is more infantry based with really strong hand cannoneers and siege because of the clockwork landmark. And then Jushi Legacy is a lot more these days cavalry based civilization. They have a unique upgrade that allows their cavalry to attack faster. They have 2 unique cavalry units in Imperial, so they're a very good civilization to raid with and just kind of play all over the map. So Jushi Legacy is a civilization that masses a lot of units, whatever comp you decide to go for. Again, somewhat similar to Zerg in StarCraft 2, but imagine just one town center, Zerg, where you just mass units and try to cause issues wherever you can, but also has very strong 2TC as well, and castle rushing. It is actually, Jushi Legacy is the fastest castle rushing civ in the game. It beats HRE even by a minute and a little bit. So Jushi Legacy, if executed well, you can start the age 3 age up at 520, which is extremely fast. French and JD. Now I'm gonna clump these up together a little bit, and I'll explain the differences afterwards. So French and Jeanne d'Arc are two aggressive civs that generally play in feudal age, where you're trying to put pressure on your opponent, you're trying to starve out your opponent from the resources, and you're trying to cause either game-ending damage or enough damage for you to transition to something else. So you're trying to get a lead. This doesn't mean that you cannot play two town center French or JD. You can even play them with trade if you want to. But generally, you want to play them super aggressive because you have access to knights in feudal, and you want to put pressure on your opponent, force them to fight you. And pro scouting is very good with these two civs. Same with China and Jushi. Pro scouting good with all these. Now, what is the difference between French and JD? French has a lot better economy because their villagers produce faster than Jeanne d'Arc. But Jeanne d'Arc has a hero that has abilities, and it discounts the cost of your units in the buildings. So it's a bit slower, but long term you're going to save a lot of resources with JD, whereas with French you're actually going to eat up your resources a lot faster, but you're also going to have a lot more units. So I would say that's kind of the main difference between them. Also, French tends to play very cavalry archer focused, whereas JD, you open cavalry, but you end up playing infantry, like full infantry focused most of the game. Next one is Holy Roman Empire and Order of the Dragon. Now these two, again, HRE and OTD, the variant of Holy Roman Empire, even though they're variants, they're very, very, very different because of the way OTD works. So Holy Roman Empire used to be only Castle Rush Civ. And again, if we take a look at the video from 2023, I probably said, you Castle Rush with HRE, it's the best Castle Rush Civ. Well, not anymore. And people don't really Castle Rush with HRE as much as they used to. It is still possible. It is also possible to go to Town Center with HRE and play it like that. So it's a very flexible Civ. But the main strength from HRE arrives in the Chapel landmark. All the workers around it gather a lot faster and a lot more. So with the recent pro scout changes in the meta, people do a lot of pro scouting with Holy Roman Empire and then just continue to fight in feudal, because not only you have deer back home now with pro scouts that you can bring them, you also can just outproduce your opponent by a lot. So you can kind of force your opponent to fight you. But the strong thing about HRE compared to, let's say, French, if French forces you to fight in feudal, like HRE, French kind of needs a little bit of time to age up. But because of the crazy good economy that Holy Roman Empire has, they can actually fight you non-stop, and then they pull back for like 20 seconds, and suddenly the age up is coming. So the main strength of Holy Roman Empire is that feudal age, where you want to get some kind of lead and do something with that, whether it's to get more ahead economically with two town center, whether it's to be aggressive, whether it's to go pro scouting, or to rush castle super quick. That's kind of what the civilization is based on. And then they have very, very strong defenses with the towers, because you can put relics in towers. So it kind of starts off very aggressive, but then it can transition to being like super, super passive, and while you take all the relics from the map and so on and so forth. But in general, a lot of the playstyles are possible with it. Generally a heavy infantry civ, because they have one of the best men-at-arms in game, but you can also play HRE with like full melee cavalry plus melee unit kind of combo. Now, Order of the Dragon is the variant civ, but comparing it to other variant civs that exist, JD, Jushi, and Ayyubid, OTD units work completely different. All of their units are unique, including villagers. So their ships and traders are the same as every civ, but all of their units not exactly double, but just think of it like all their units cost double, and they have double HP, double damage, double attack speed. So again, all those stats are not exactly like that, but they're twice as good, they cost twice as much. And their villagers take more time to produce, they're a bit more expensive, but they also have faster gathering speed, which means that Order of the Dragon, you have to be very careful to not lose your villagers, because they take longer to build, so losing a villager is a lot worse than losing a villager with a regular civ. Your units are very, very strong, but you have less units. So you will literally have half the units from your opponent, but they're going to be twice as strong. So if you want to play a civ that has less units to micro, less units to control, but the units are stronger, then this is literally the only civilization like that in the game. Their knights are incredibly strong. For example, a knight from another civ in Feudal Age is almost the same stats as their horsemen in Feudal Age. So that's kind of the comparison. Other than that, they play very similar to HRE in terms of pro scouting is currently very good for them because they also have Chapel. They have same landmarks as Holy Roman Empire. Their mine work does different things and has different unique upgrades, which is the other Feudal Age landmark. But they also focus on a lot of relic usage, whether to put in towers or keeps or whatever else, and kind of securing the farms around their chapel at some point and protecting that. Their late game is very strong because when you're pop capped, their units are very, very strong, and you also don't need as many villagers as the other civs because your villagers also gather faster. Next civilization is Delhi Sultanate. One of my favorite civs. Delhi is very unique. Delhi is very aggressive. So ever since the game came out, this civ has been played the exact same way. It might change in the future. I doubt. This is the most or one of the most aggressive civilizations in the game. All your upgrades are free for all the buildings, which means you have more resources to spend for units. So the whole point of Delhi is to just mass units, take the map control, and by taking the map control, you force your opponent to come out to fight you. So if you hate playing against macro civs where they just sit in their base and make towers and stuff, then Delhi is literally the best civ for you because Delhi has the unique thing where they can capture sacred sites in Feudal Age. So no other civ can do that. Delhi can capture sacred sites in Feudal Age. Once you capture all the sacred sites, a 10-minute timer will start, and if it reaches 0, you win the game. So if you hate playing against civs that are camping or just doing nothing in their base, if you pick Delhi, you capture the sacred sites, they have to come to you, and you force them to fight. Other than that, Delhi's playstyle usually tends to be a lot of cavalry in Feudal with archers. Their units can also make walls, so archers and spearmen can make walls. And then later on, their style kind of transitions to a lot of men-at-arms into elephants. And elephants, as of right now, I don't know how they're going to be in the future, but they're very, very strong. So elephant, archer, scholar combo to heal them is very, very strong. They're very strong in Imperial. And so they kind of start super aggressive, but they kind of slow down as the game goes on. And you kind of build, you go from a very mobile army to a very slow army. Towards the later stages in the game. But it is not very flexible civ in terms of how many different builds it can do. You kind of just do one thing over and over. But some people love that, so there you go. English is a civilization. It's obviously focused on longbows. They're unique units. They're very, very good. Now, English can be played in a few different ways. The way you should look at English is they are a civilization with very bad economy bonuses early on in the game, very strong economy bonuses later on in the game with the farms, but they start off very slow, right? You're not going to be able to just pump out million units. They start off very slow, but their units are very strong, and their bonuses, where if you are fighting near a town center or a tower, you get attack speed on all your units. So you kind of want to make sure whenever you're fighting with English, you have a tower nearby so you can get attack speed. Longbows are basically a lot better archers. So English has very strong units, but if you're losing them early on, it's going to be a harder one to recover. So it's a very immobile civ in terms of you're not going to be massing a lot of cavalry and raiding everywhere, They're going to be making infantry and kind of holding it as a blob and trying to deny opponent food or deny opponent gold or wood and so on and so forth. So English can be played aggressive. I would say it's probably about 50-50 between playing aggressive and going for a second town center. Those are the two most common playstyles. If you go for 2 town centers, you're kind of playing very passive. You know, you're just going 2 town centers to get more economy, and then you're making a landmark that's basically a keep called the White Tower, and you're just chilling, you're making your farms, you're playing SimCity at that point, or you just go for some kind of aggression or all-in push where you're balls to the wall and you're trying to do not only do damage but try to kill your opponent. Other than that, their men-at-arms are really good. So mid to late game army comp for English looks something like mass men-at-arm, crossbow, longbow, just metric crap ton of them, because you will have a lot of food income from your farms. Next one, Malian. Malian is an interesting one. Another very, very unique civilization. They have a lot of passive gold from their pit mines on gold veins. So every civilization can make a second town center to boom. With Malian, you don't make a second town center early on. Instead, you go for a cow boom. Cow boom is when you make a bunch of cows in the enclosures. They give you passive food income, and then you age up with the landmark that further increases that income from the cows. So the reason you do that is because cows cost no supply, and they will give you a lot of income throughout the whole game. So Malian boom strategy or macro strategy is different than the other civs. You don't go for second TC, you go for the cow boom, and then Malian style in general is just mass units. Their units are weaker, they have less stats than other civilizations' units, but they're also cheaper, so you can mass a lot more of them. And because you don't need as much economy as other civs, because you have passive gold from the first landmark, passive food from the cows, and you have passive gold from pit mines, you can actually play Malian with a lot less villagers compared to the other civilization, which allows you to have more army, but a weaker army. So you can kind of hit multiple sides with, masses and masses of units. They have some unique mechanics like stealth for their units that you can play around with. But generally, Malian is played in 2 different ways. Malian is not super aggressive in terms of they want to kill their opponent. Malian is aggressive in terms of they either want to go for pro scouting and just take over the whole map and deny your opponent the food and get all the food for yourself, or just go cow boom and play passive and just defend. So it's kind of like a map control / more macro oriented civ. But once you're defending in feudal, you're trying to defend your cow boom, you're getting all the cows up. Once you hit castle, you're going all out. So you go from basically 5% of you playing the game to like 110%. You're just going, you're just massing units, your economy is through the roof. Yeah, that's kind of how Malian is. So you go from like a 0 to 100 in terms of how aggressive you are in the game, and you're just trying to do damage to your opponent wherever you can. And their units are also very hard to micro. So they have units, javelin throwers or donzos, which are very, very hard to micro. So if you're into a more passive civ that is complicated to use and difficult, but feels very rewarding when you do it right, Malian is a civ for you. Mongol, another very unique civ. There's a lot of very unique civs in AoE4 because they're kind of completely different from one another. Mongol is a civilization that does not need houses, okay? So they start with 200 pop max, which means that you don't need to build any houses. So if you're a player that you want to focus on your army and you don't really like building the walls, building the houses, building lumber camps, mining camps, Mongol is already made for you. They have Gur, which is a building that you drop off any resource to. You can move all your buildings. You can move your town center. You have passive stone income from Uvu, which is their unique building. You can also upgrade towers. You can build towers and then upgrade them with passive stone income that you're getting. And Mongol is a lot about putting pressure on your opponent. Now, it's not necessarily an all-in civilization. It can be, but Mongol is very, very much like an annoying mosquito is the best way to describe it. You want to constantly be harassing your opponent. So again, if you're a player that you want to you like to micro, you like to focus on small engagements, on map control, poking your opponent, throwing them off and stuff like that, then Mongol is perfect for you. They have a lot of cavalry usage. They have Mangudai, which are ranged cavalry units. They have Keshiks, which are kind of like feudal knights, but they're a bit weaker. And they have a strategy which is tower rushing in Dark Age, which is Age 1. So you can already be aggressive with Mongols in Dark Age and put a tower on your opponent's gold or berries or woodline or whatever else, and then put your spearmen inside and kind of put, like I said, put a lot of pressure and just going from there. They're also a civilization that heavily utilizes trading. Now, trading can be done with some of the other civs, but I would not mention it as like, yeah, that civ either trades or goes normal. Mongol is a civ that trades very, very, very often. So if you're playing against Mongols or with Mongols, you do want to be trading, and your opponent will probably be trading, which scales really, really well because it's a really good income. Now, the downside of Mongol is you do not have walls, you do not have keeps, so defending all over the map is a lot harder, which is why you want to be the aggressor. You want to be the one putting the pressure, so you don't have to defend. There it is. Ottoman. Now, Ottoman is and has been in a bit of a weird state. We've seen all kinds of playstyles with Ottoman. It's a very slow civ to start with. There's a lot of things they gotta build up to get going. But once they get going, Ottoman is one of the strongest civs in the Imperial in the late game. They have a lot of unique units, Sipahi, Janissaries, and Great Bombards that make them very, very difficult to play against. They also have a unique Vizier point system where every unit that they create, you get experience. And then once you reach the bar fully, you get a Vizier point and you can choose different bonuses. It's kind of like look at them like talent points that you can put each game. So you have a lot of options there, potentially different play styles or reacting in the moment, which Vizier point you're going to take. But in general, Ottoman style is to get your military schools up, which are buildings that produce units for free, but they produce them very slowly. So if a spearman takes 20 seconds to produce, in military school, it takes 1 minute to produce, but it's free. Those are not the exact numbers, so I'm just giving an example. And they have a unique unit called Mechter, which increases the attack speed or melee or ranged armor, depending what you click, for all your units. So Ottoman is meant to be played. You can harass with Ottoman, but Ottoman's strength is you getting a massive, massive army, a lot of siege, and then just pushing and killing your opponent. So if you're the type of player that you like defending yourself, not necessarily going multiple TCs, but just kind of defending yourself, maybe harassing here and there, and then just doing a massive push, then Ottoman is a very good civ for you because it relies on you having just a huge army that opponent cannot deal with, because Ottoman's army all combined together is very hard to beat. But like I said, they do have a bit of a slower start, so have that in mind. And last but not least, we have Rus. Rus is, I would say, a pretty diverse and flexible civ. When I say flexible, by the way, I mean a civilization that can do multiple strategies or builds or play styles. I should have probably said that at the start. Rus is a pretty flexible civ. You can go for an all-in with Rus. You can go pro scouting with Rus to get a lot of deer back home. You can go for castle rushing with Rus, which means you go for a fast castle and then you make horse archers, which are ranged cavalry units, which are very good for harassing, and you kind of just take over the map control, you take all the relics. So with Rus, you want to be the guy that's going for the relics because they give you a lot of passive gold. They have a decent amount of passive gold income from the hunting cabin mechanic that they have. Their landmarks are great, and the main playstyle of Rus will be taking map control with a lot of horse archers or just cavalry units in general, knights or horsemen. They have a unique bonuses for their cavalry, which it gives them more HP, so that's very good for them. And then in Imperial, they have a lot of unique siege upgrades, which makes their kind of Death Bull army very strong. If you go for something like Knights, Streltsy, which is their unique hand cannoneers, and then Mass Siege, they have that very, very strong Death Ball. But you can also play it, more kind of wild. You don't have to stay together with your army like Ottoman does, but you kind of have that option. So there it is. I think I covered pretty much everything. I hope you guys learned something new today. If you're new to AoE 4 or you're trying to play another civ and you're not quite sure which one you want to do, I feel like AoE 4 is in a great spot because I'm pretty sure the last time I made this video, I was like, this civ is macro, you can't really do much else, this civ you castle rush with, and so on. We're at a point in Age of Empires 4 where so many civs can do so many different things, which I think is great for the game. So many civs can go for 2, 3, even 4 different strategies. It just depends what kind of mechanics you like. For example, if you want to play aggressive, you can pick French, you can pick English, you can pick Mongol, or you can pick JD with hero. So it's like a lot of the civs can have a macro style, a boom style, castle rush, aggro. It just depends on the mechanics you like to play with those civs and their unique units. So AoE 4 is in a very, very good spot. Anyway, that's gonna be it. I hope I helped you guys pick out your new civilization or your first civilization. If you're watching this on YouTube, thank you so much for watching. Again, once the new civs hit, I will be making video for those as well. Thank you, everybody. Twitch gamers, as America goblins into the room. Thank you, everybody, for watching. Twitch gamers, let's keep going.